welcome back to my channel, or if you're new, hello and welcome. My name is Megan, and today's video is going to be the highly sought after week of workouts video. And I mentioned to you guys that I'm planning to film a week of workouts for every single month, and I think this is great because you guys can see how a week of workout kind of changes in my life as my life changes. This one specifically I'm very excited about. It is going to be a getting back on track week of workouts. Like, I haven't been working out consistently over the past few weeks. I actually took 2 full weeks off from weight training, so I'm headed back to the gym after a vacation. I feel like this will come up with great timing for people who maybe were on spring break, or people who just took some time off and are looking for a relatable routine to getting back on track. This is obviously not going to be my best week of training. I have no idea what to expect, if I'm going to feel super good, super fatigued. We're just going to see, but I'm super excited to take you guys along because I'm trying to get back in the swing of things. And the advice that I give in this, it's going to talk a lot about, you know, exercise choice and intensity, especially after taking time off. So it's not going to be necessarily going your hardest. It's just about easing into routine to make it long-term and sustainable. I'm only going to be training 4 days this week to ease back into it. Today is actually Tuesday. Yesterday I flew home. I took the entire day off. I slept at 8 p.m. I was so tired, and I'm trying to ease into my week. I'm also on my period, so we have like a lot going on. We're just going to do our best, and that's all we can do. Today is Tuesday, and typically I do an upper body day, but I'm going to try to stick to the muscular order that I prefer. So today we are going to start off with a leg day. I'm not going to have like glute focus or quad focus in this week. I'm just kind of going to do one, what's available because it might be busy, and two, what feels right to me in that day. So we're not going to have a quad and glute focus day. They're just going to be kind of well-rounded leg days. Obviously you guys can go for my other videos if you guys prefer more focused days. So today is just going to be leg day number 1. I'm super nervous. Without further ado, let's get into leg day number 1 and my first workout back since taking 2 weeks off of training. Alrighty, as I always tell you guys, the first thing that we need to do is properly warm up before moving into any weighted sets. So before this, hopefully you guys did some type of pre-leg day mobility routine and warm-up routine. I know I don't yet have one up, but I do plan to have one up very soon that you guys will be able to follow. But do that first, and then you want to move into working sets with just the bar to begin, because we definitely, especially after a long time, don't want to rush into putting any weight on our bodies. Make sure you're properly warm. Make sure you feel good with the movement pattern. You may even want to do a few more warm-up sets than you would even typically do on a normal day. Then feel like you can add and load the weight properly to your working weight. In my opinion, the most important part of a barbell squat is your setup and initiation, and this is something that I highly recommend you guys try to master. So make sure you find the right stance for you. Keep your feet nice and planted into the floor. Make sure you have the bar on your back in a comfortable position, and make sure to know how to brace your core rep to rep and don't rush through it. I think that's my biggest piece of advice for anyone who likes to barbell squat is don't rush your reps, and if that means cutting your reps, that's okay. So sometimes I'll only do low rep ranges, so that allows me to focus on quality of reps as opposed to rushing through 6 to maybe 12 reps and not performing them to the best of my ability. Additionally, I wanted to note that if you guys aren't yet ready to get right back into barbell squats, I would highly recommend just doing a different squat variation. Now we're going into B stance RDL. So as you guys can see, I like to stagger my feet. My non-working leg is going to align with the heel of my working foot. And as you guys can see, you're going to be hinging back at the hips. I like to think of pushing a car door closed with my butt, or think about sitting back into a chair and how you would perform that. The dumbbell is going to come down and up. Remember that this movement is all being forced through the hip hinge, so really just focus on pushing those hips back, and the rest of the movement will kind of follow over time. Ensure to keep your core braced, and also scale the weight or reps for this if you haven't done this in a long time. As unilateral work, you will want to go lighter since you're only working with one leg at a time. Now we're moving into our dumbbell calf glute bridges. As you guys can see, it's a little fun setup we have going on here. I like to use a light to moderate weight dumbbell, especially on this, because we're going to do some really high rep here. And then the reason that I have plates under my feet is because I want to hit full hip extension at the top of the movement. So as you see me hit the top of the movement, you can see that my body becomes a straight line here. If my feet were on the floor, it would actually become a decline, so my body would create a diagonal line going downward. So to remedy that, I'm putting plates under my feet so that I can create a full straight line with my body. So I recommend doing this if you notice that that's something that's happening when you're doing hip thrusts or calf glute bridges. And I like to add that nice hold for as long as possible at the end of the movement, just to burn out the glutes even more. Next, we're moving into another unilateral movement. These are going to be step ups, or you could call them touchdowns in the way that I perform them. I personally like to hold the dumbbell on the side of the working leg and then use my other arm for support because I don't have great balance. And from there, you just want to hinge back at the hips, have a slight forward lean, and tap your non-working foot to the floor and come back up, using all the pressure in that working leg that's on the bench. Also, I wanted to note on my Instagram, I recently did show another variation that you guys can try using the cable machine that might be better for you if you want to load it heavier or don't have great stability with this. If you guys have been watching my week of workouts for a while, then you guys would know that this has been a staple in my routine. It's just been the best thing for me, I feel like, with this machine to really give myself a good challenge. So I'm doing 8 single leg reps. So I do 8 reps on my left leg, then I do 8 reps on my right leg, then I go down and I increase the weight, and then I do 8 more reps using both legs. By the end of this should be so burner. It should make your face make the craziest faces. It should be a good challenge. So make sure that you're picking appropriate weights to do both with and try to challenge yourself as much as you can. If this isn't really your jam and you're not as big of a fan of doing complexes like this, then I would just recommend doing any form of a quad extension. It's going to be beneficial for you. It's one of the best ways to isolate the quad muscles and give you that stability component. So whatever floats your boat is obviously what you should do. This is just a new idea for you guys, and that finishes off our first day back at the gym after 2 weeks. Hi guys, we are going to be doing a push day today. I can confidently say that I am very sore from yesterday's workout, so I can imagine this one is going to be brutal as well. With this week of workouts, something that I really want to emphasize is that when it comes to your training, it's super important to scale your training, which means just because you were able to do something before you took a break does not mean that you're going to be able to do it when you get back with perfect form or not being super fatigued, and that's okay. That doesn't mean you lost progress. It doesn't mean that you can't do it anymore. It literally just means you have to ease your way back into training. When you think about it, it's just like anything else. If you haven't run in 10 years, what makes you think you can do a marathon tomorrow? It doesn't matter if you've done a marathon before. It's the same kind of thing. You have to ease your way back into it, and I think it's super important not to just jump back in, because I know, at least me in the past, I used to be so excited to go back to the gym or really ready to go back to the gym after taking time off, and I would beat myself. My first workout, I would do so much stuff. I do heavy, high rep, every exercise I know and love, just because I haven't done it in such a long time. But doing a lot doesn't necessarily mean that you're gonna get anything more out of it than just easing your way into it, because like I mentioned, it takes time to build muscle. So to build your muscle, it takes consistency, progressive overload, proper rest, nutrition, all of the most amazing things. So one session isn't gonna dictate how much muscle you build. It's about the collective amount of sessions, which means don't beat yourself in session 1 and then not be able to do session 3. So today we're gonna do a push day. For my upper body days, I don't find that I have to cut things as much. I'm definitely gonna be a little bit weaker on my pressing movements, like my chest press, shoulder press, kind of the more heavier loaded movements. But in terms of some of the lighter loaded movements like lateral raises, flies, things like that, you can probably still do what you were doing before and be a-okay. Without further ado, let's get into today's push day. Slay! We are starting off this workout with a flat dumbbell chest press. So you want to grab your dumbbells and then slowly lower down. This is always such a weird part for me. As I lower down, I get like a little scared. But yeah, you want to lay it flat on the bench. If being flat makes you uncomfortable, you can absolutely do incline as well. And then you're going to bring the dumbbells down and push back up once the dumbbells come back to your chest height. So with these, you want to keep them nice and controlled. As you guys can see, I kind of tuck my elbows in so they're not flaring straight out from my shoulder. And I personally like to have a slight arch in my lower back and make sure that you have your feet planted on the floor. And these are a great movement to start off with. And then we're going to be moving into our second pressing movement of the day, which is our shoulder presses. So with these, you want to be upright using a 90-degree bench. I have one that's made for shoulder pressing. If this isn't available, you can use a traditional bench and just prop it up like the one to the left of me. I've had clients mention how they're not yet comfortable in this section of the gym where the benches are. So if that's you, you can absolutely still do these standing or seated, and the main consideration with this is just making sure that you are pressing up with the shoulders, not going too low, and trying to control the movement all the way through. Now we are going into another shoulder movement. We're doing actually 2 in a row, so this is a superset. If you guys aren't familiar, supersets are one exercise and then immediately going into the other exercise, which counts as one set, and then typically you will do that for a few sets around. Hopefully that makes sense. The video will probably explain it better than I just did, but first we're starting off with our lateral raises. I'm doing them seated because sometimes I notice myself losing control or swaying a little too much. Then for the second movement of the superset, as you guys can see, I dropped the weight and I grabbed my weight for my next exercise, which are these front raises, and I'm immediately going into those without taking a rest or breather between. So that is what a superset is, and it allows you to fatigue the muscles in a different way, add a different stress or stimulus. I love it for these two movements together because I feel like on their own, they're not as challenging, but together it really adds a good challenge. Now we're moving into another chest exercise. This is going to be our flies. I feel like I do these every week of workouts, so if you guys watch all of mine, then you guys know these are a staple. As I've mentioned in those other week of workouts, flies can be done in so many different ways. You can do them on this machine, which is the safest bet for anyone because typically every gym is going to have this machine. If for some reason this isn't available, you can also use the cables, which I actually have in my last YouTube video that I'm doing with Neela, if you guys want to take a look at that. And then the last option would be that you could do these with dumbbells on a bench. So there's tons of different ways to do this movement, but the movement pattern itself is going to be the same throughout, and it's going to target the chest in a nice isolation. But now we're moving into the final workout of today, which is the only really exercise that I do personally for my triceps, but you guys are more than welcome to add in more at the end of this day. I'm doing rope cable tricep extensions, and the main tip I want to give you guys with these is to think about gluing your elbows to your side. So as you guys can see, each rep, my arms aren't swaying up with the rope, I'm not losing control, and my elbows stay fixed to my side, and then I get a full extension at the bottom of the movement where the triceps are activated the most. Hello guys, and happy Thursday. Today we are going to be doing our leg day number 2. I'm still slightly sore from leg day number 1, but we have to keep pushing through, keep building routine, and again, just scaling our workouts appropriately. So I'm not going to go my heaviest or my hardest, and kind of just going to do all the movements that I didn't get to do on day 1 of legs. It's going to be a mix of all the muscle groups, just kind of hitting all the exercises that I usually intend to hit in 1 week. I am definitely feeling the fatigue of trying to get back into training. Probably the most sore I ever usually get. Just remember, soreness isn't a good indicator of your workouts. It's just sometimes your muscles are going to be more sore, especially after a long period off. You don't need to feel sore every workout for it to be working, but you should expect to probably feel sore when coming back from a long time off of training and reintroducing your body to a lot of stress again. So I'm not bragging about being sore in that way. I'm just saying this is something I expected coming back into training after a little while off. So let's just hop into this leg day right now. To start off this leg day number 2, I'm starting off with my barbell RDLs. So what you want to do with these is bring the barbell up and get into positioning with a shoulder width apart stance, toes facing forward, not outwards. I like to grip the bar outside of my legs and about shoulder width down. And in terms of the form for an RDL, you want to think about hinging back at the hips. I saw an analogy that I think might help people think of sitting back into a chair while simultaneously shaving your shins, and I think that might help some people, or think of it as a standing hip thrust. I think those are both great analogies, but you will learn as you just continue to practice with this hip hinge. I promise you guys will get it down. Now we're moving into some walking lunges, which are actually a favorite movement of mine. I used to never do these because I know some gyms don't necessarily have the space to do them. If yours doesn't, that's okay. You guys can opt for a different lunge variation, such as a reverse lunge or a Bulgarian split squat. But I like these because there's a stability component with them. Obviously, you have to maintain full body bracing, especially in your core, and focus on balance and stability as you're walking. It's nice and functional, and it's not something that I load personally very heavy, but it's something I like to focus on my form, and it's just a really great movement that I honestly feel targets the glutes super well as well as the quads. Now I want to move into these back extensions, and I want to take some time to talk about the setup because I think that's where a lot of people get confused. You want your feet locked in at the bottom, and I like to have my toes pointed slightly outwards. You can have a slight bend in your knee. The biggest thing is you want to make sure that that hip pad allows you the range of motion that you're looking for. Sometimes I notice clients have them too high or have it too low, and it's just not comfortable. So find that comfortable balance. I find it's perfect right where the crease is beginning my quad. And then you guys can do these unweighted if you've never done them before, but if you have, I recommend holding the weight, trying to round your upper back, and then extending to full extension so you make a straight line but not hyperextending at the top of the movement. And as you guys can see, I like to finish it off with a quick little iso hold for as long as possible. Then I'm moving into another movement that I really like to do, especially for my quads. So here I am doing a heel elevated goblet squat drop set. This is something I've been doing for a long time and I really enjoy it. So I tried to slow this down a little bit more and have like a half-second pause at the bottom of the movement. So we're starting off with our weighted reps. I'm doing reps weighted, then I'll be dropping the kettlebell and I'm going to be doing reps body weight. And diving into the setup a little bit, as you guys can see, if you guys look down at my feet, I have these small plates underneath of my heels. That is the heel elevated portion. If this makes you uncomfortable, you don't have a good setup for this at your gym, you can omit this. But the reason for this is because it's going to help to emphasize your quads as opposed to maybe recruiting more glutes. So this is something that is great if you guys are looking to engage your quads more. And like I said, you can use plates under your feet, or some gyms even have little platforms or things that you guys could use instead. Now for the last movement of the day, we are moving into a glute med kickback with a slight pause at the end range. So as you guys can see here, it's a traditional glute med kickback, and then at the end range I am pausing for a quick little second. The reason we're stopping at that end range is that is where our glutes are at their highest activation during this movement pattern, and adding pauses is a great way to progressively overload if you notice that it's harder for you to change the weight on these, and it's just another way to add some challenge. I also think it's great for people learning the form. Adding the pause can make it more intentional to pause and control the movement all the way through. Hello my loves, and welcome to the final day of this week of workouts. My dog is side-eyeing me from behind. We're twinning today. We're twinning. To end today's week of workouts, we're going to be doing what has been honestly my favorite day yet, which is going to be a pull day. So pull, if you're unfamiliar, is going to be back in bicep focus, and a lot of the movements are going to be pulling movements, which is why they call it pull day. I typically sumo deadlift on this day, but honestly I'm feeling super fatigued from my 2 leg days earlier this week that I'm not going to sumo deadlift today. I'm going to reintroduce that into my routine next week instead. So today what I'm going to be doing is just classic pull day, so back and biceps. But if you guys want to deadlift, then you can add it in at the beginning of your workout, and if you want inspo for how I would do that, you guys can look at my other week of workouts as well. But without further ado, let's finish off the week strong, our first week back from taking time off. I'm super proud of myself for showing up, and I'm super proud of you guys for watching this because I know you guys are going to show up too. Let's just get into this pull day slay. To start off, we are going to be doing our lat pull downs. So I have a different attachment here, but you guys can absolutely just use the typical lat pull down attachment. The main things I want you guys to think about with this movement is keeping it slow and controlled. As you see, I'm controlling it on the way down, but I'm also controlling it back on the way up. Ensure that you have your quads secured under the lat bar. As you guys can see, that is going to keep your lower body down as you're pulling up and down, especially as the weight goes up. Otherwise, you might go flying with the cable. And then I like to think about tucking my elbows in my back pocket and really driving my arms back. And as you're pulling straight down, ensure to lean back a little bit so that you can pull towards your chest. Now we're going to be moving into a close grip seated cable row. You guys can also do a wider grip if you prefer. The attachments, again, that you use are kind of up to you in your gym, but I'm doing the close grip attachment here. And as you guys can see, you want your feet planted on whatever surface they have for your feet to go on. Sometimes it's a little higher. Allow the cable to get the full range of motion. So the cable is going to go back towards where it started, and it's going to come all the way towards your belly button. I try to keep my arms as tucked to my body as possible while driving my elbows backwards, and you want to think about squishing something between your armpit as you're doing this to really get that great lat activation. And try to keep your torso pretty upright and don't let it sway too much, but obviously you're going to move a little bit as you're bringing the cable forward and back. Now we're going to be moving into a newer movement into my routine, so I can't necessarily say I've mastered this one yet, but these are rope cable pull downs. You're going to take a cable attachment and then the rope holding the ends of it, and then you're kind of just pushing straight down, coming back up to about shoulder height, and then pulling down again. I like to again think of squeezing something between my armpits as I am pulling it down so that you can focus on lat activation. And I've seen people do this with the straight bar as well, so whatever is best for you is perfect. And then we're going to be moving into another staple in my routine. As opposed to doing bent over row, barbell row, chest supported row, I've been doing gorilla rows. For this movement, what you want to do is have 2 kettlebells, and you can place them on the floor, or you guys can put them on an elevated platform if you feel like going down straight from the floor doesn't feel right for you. You want to have a slight bend in the knee, and you want to have your feet at a kind of sumo stance, wide stance outside of the kettlebells, and then your arms at about shoulder width coming down to hold and pull the kettlebells up. Then you're just going to be revolving, pulling while keeping your torso and core tight and not turning or twisting too much with the movement. These are great for full body. And now we're finishing off with some bicep curls. Is always kind of how I finish a pull day. I don't really look to grow my biceps or strengthen my biceps too much, so that's why I only ever do one movement for them. So here I'm just doing a cable bicep curl using the rope attachment. I really like this, and it allows me to get a different kind of stretch than I feel like I get with dumbbells. Ensure to get full range of motion there, so straighten your arms at the bottom and then come all the way back up. That finishes off our first week of workouts back since taking a little bit of time off. That is going to conclude today's video. I really hope that you guys found it helpful. I hope you found it motivating, especially if you're somebody who took some time off and is really looking to start or restart your fitness journey, get back into the gym. I just want to remind you guys that all the feelings of anxiety, feeling weaker, feeling like you have to scale your workouts, all of that is 100% normal. No matter how advanced you are, it doesn't matter. All the principles are the same when it comes to lifting. And the biggest key is really just to show up, start, be consistent before wanting results. So I hope that this was kind of helpful for you guys and helping you understand recommend what I did with my routine to get back into the gym. And another thing is just make sure that you're scaling your workouts appropriately to you. I tried to give tips throughout this video of things like lowering intensity, rep ranges, weights, things like that. And then as you start to get stronger and feel stronger, then you're going to typically and normally progressively overload as you would. If you guys don't know a lot about progressive overload, I have a full video that I'll pop on the screen right now that I highly recommend that you watch. And I know a lot of you guys have been commenting asking for my warm up and cool down routine. I'm really sorry. I have it on my list to do, and then I have all these other things that are like in front of it right now. So I am going to try to do that and film that very soon for you guys. So once I do have it filmed, it will be on my page. So be sure to subscribe. And I've been starting to like use the announcement feature on here more to kind of update you guys on uploads and stuff. Be sure to turn on my post notifications so you guys can see that as well. But thank you guys so much for all the support on these. It really means a lot when I get even just one comment, one message saying how much this maybe helped you or motivated you, because it motivates me to keep posting them, and I just want to help you guys in any way that I can. If you guys feel overwhelmed, if you feel like you're in a point in your journey where you can't do this by yourself, don't feel like that is a bad thing. I couldn't recommend more looking into mentorship, looking into coaching. That's really how I got to where I am. I had a mentor in my life, and I always think that it's great to invest in somebody that you trust and you see as reputable. So if you guys would like to work with somebody either on a personalized program or with one-on-one support and coaching, you guys can feel free to apply. I always have the link down below, and I always tell you guys it doesn't have to be right now, but if you ever want to coach in the future, I'm always here. All my outfits were from ONER Active. If you guys want to shop my support link, shopping directly through the link down below supports me and gives me a little bit of commission, which is super appreciated, and it also just helps ONER know that I'm bringing people to the brand, which is always great. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like I said, there's going to be so much content coming. I have so much planned. I have a massive list. It's never ending, but feel free to also comment requests as you guys have them. Thank you for 20k as well. This is my first video that I think I've said that. So thank you guys so much for 20k. I literally never thought I would hit even 1k when I first started this channel. So it's super amazing to have grown to that, and I'm so grateful to have such an amazing community. So love you guys so much, and I will see you guys in my next video.